Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. What a game we had this weekend between Chelsea and Manchester City. Very high tempo, high intensity until the last whistle. In addition to the incredible energy players spent on the pitch, there were many interesting tweaks that happened during the game as well, and some of those tweaks immediately affected the scoreline. So let's talk about the game, the initial plans of the coaches, what kind of problems each team created to each other, and then those tweaks in the second half. We all know when the opponent uses a back four in out of possession phase, 99% of the time Manchester City starts with their 3-2-2-3 in possession phase. It was of course the case against Chelsea as well. And as expected, Chelsea used a 4-4-2 at mid-block, which was turning into a 4-2-4 or 4-2-3-1 once they get more aggressive and press a bit higher. Against City's 3-2 base, a narrow line of 4 helps closing inner channels, blocks central progression, while at the back line, 2 defensive midfielders can stay on City's number 8s, fullbacks on wingers and center backs can be on Haaland. On the paper this is a fair plan, but we all watched how City ripped United by using a very wide first line of 3 to stretch the first pressure line and take advantage of 3 versus 2 at the center. They also used interesting variations with Silva pushing wider, temporarily switching into a 4-2 structure to open even more space at the center. However, this didn't work against Chelsea. Certainly not having John Stones was a big factor on the failure of the 3-2 build-up, but it was also because Chelsea players played with much higher aggression levels compared to United. Didn't give the time for City players to comfortably build up. Especially Gallagher always bothered City players at the center during build-up. This forced City to make simple errors, play more long balls, and those returned as dangerous Chelsea counterattacks. When we look at the opposite phase in the first half, we saw City was using an aggressive high press with man-oriented zonal press at the front, but fully man-marking at the back line. And with it, they didn't keep a +1 at the back, a brave and maybe a bit unnecessarily proactive approach considering Chelsea's fast attackers. Chelsea started the game with a 3-2-4-1-ish structure with James pushing higher and wider, Cucurella staying deeper, both wingers playing narrower, but Palmer dropping a bit deeper compared to Sterling and offering support with Gallagher. And this structure resulted in an awkward matchup for City. Most of the time, Diaz and Gvardiol following Gallagher and Palmer, while Jackson and Sterling pushing higher to use 1v1s with their speed. As the game evolved, Cucurella started to push higher and wider, like James as well. In out-of-possession pace, City started to look like 4-4-2 diamond, with wingers trying to follow their fullbacks. And Chelsea started to look quite like a Red Bull team with a narrow 4-2-2-2, with fullbacks providing width and many central players inside. So when Chelsea played long balls and with the help of Gallagher, Fernandes and Caicedo collecting second balls, they could create 4v4s, 5v5s in City's half, and this was exactly how they progressed the ball before the second goal. Second half started with some changes from both coaches. Chelsea's most obvious change was the swap between Palmer and Gallagher. Pochettino started using Palmer at the center, mostly closer to Sterling to pull Diaz with him, if necessary carry the ball with him and also create a more offensive link with Sterling. This was a good idea as Palmer also proved it by creating some threat with his dribbling skills there. City's changes were a bit more drastic. In possession phase, Akanji stopped moving higher and they turned into 4-1 build-up from 3-2 with fullbacks wider and higher, which could offer them a chance to still keep the width at the base to stretch the front four but with less spacing at the backline, meaning potentially more protection against Chelsea's counterattacks from the possession loss during build-up. When they pushed Chelsea to lower blocks, Foden came narrower and Walker overlapped to offer width. This gave them a superiority at the center and helped them to sustain their pressure. However, when City players committed some small mistakes during chance creation subways, less players at the backline struggled against Chelsea counterattacks. In out-of-possession phase, we saw City started to keep a +1 at the backline around Nico Jackson and turned into a 4-1-4-1 with Rodri trying to cut the connection of Palmer. There were moments that triggered the aggressive press, like when the defensive midfielder received the ball with bad body orientation, looking towards his own goal. At these situations, Rodri was jumping higher and the attacking midfielder was marked by the center back, Diaz or Akanji again. This stopped Chelsea to create the dangerous 4v4s, 5v5s from build-ups in the second half and helped City to gain the control further. However, Pochettino intervened with his substitutions. As Mudryk joined the game, we saw Gallagher drop to play a lone 6, and with Caicedo pushing at left half space, Chelsea started to play a 4-1-5. It was interesting because the first time they used this structure to attack created a serious confusion over City defenders as their zonal 4-1-4-1 failed and allowed a 5v4 for Chelsea, which resulted in Rodri moving wider and a huge space at the center, and that eventually with Chelsea's third goal. After the third goal, this time Pep intervened the game with a substitution. Kovacic subbed in for Alvarez. On the paper it might look like a defensive substitution, but actually it gave the full control of the game to City again. With the extra energy compared to the players already on the field, Kovacic could join the build-up to offer extra man and also filled the left half space once City pushed Chelsea to lower blocks. In addition, due to the confusion Caicedo's positioning created, City turned to full man marking approach whole field in out of possession phase, and this time, with maybe also because the Chelsea attackers got a bit tired, they started to win the duels and tilt the field. The third goal came as a result of this sustained pressure and a little bit also of luck for City. Right after the goal, Pochettino made his last substitution and took the extra risk with Broja joining the game. Structure-wise, they still used 3-2-5, but they started creating the line of 5 with Gusto overlapping at the right wide corridor. City again had a confusion and tried to stay at a zonal 4-1-4-1 at mid-block. With the game state psychology as well, Chelsea started to push City to lower blocks, and it was Broja who eventually got the penalty before the fourth equalizer of the game. Eventually nobody won the game, but also nobody looked sad at the end of the game. Perhaps it was a very exhausting game for the players, but surely an exciting one for the spectators. Both coaches made most of their interventions by considering to win the game instead of considering not to lose the game, and with the incredible talents on the pitch, these proactive approaches made the game a really entertaining one. Thank you for watching my video. If you liked the video, please don't forget to press the like button and subscribe to my channel. Until next time.